Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Enberg, and I did my research proposal on utilizing landscape ecology in the creation of an urban food forest plan. So why are urban food forests important? A city with well-planned and well-managed green infrastructure becomes more resilient, sustainable, and equitable in terms of nutrition and food security, poverty alleviation, and climate change mitigation and adaptation. Research has shown that living in proximity of urban green spaces and having access to them can improve physical and mental health, for example, by decreasing high blood pressure and stress. Adding a food forest would also be of benefit to urban wildlife that suffers from habitat loss and could provide a local area for people to be able to become involved with environmental education and protection. Some of the urban issues that food forests benefit are food security, urban poverty, reduction in biodiversity, and air and noise pollution. The benefits of having a food forest in these environments include providing food, creating jobs and sources of income in some cases, to improve the soil conditions, to increase biodiversity, and to remove air pollutants and buffer noise in the environment. They can also help sequester carbon to mitigate climate change. I'm using an inductive approach for my research, but it is generally believed that a deductive approach is useful for complex social ecological systems with multiple variables. Inductive approaches tend to be more repeatable and objective than deductive approaches. So part of doing this project is indicator selection and design. In urban forestry, vulnerability assessments usually use scale, context, and are place dependent. Broad-scale assessments of urban forest vulnerability and inequality might focus on socioeconomic indicators, while more localized assessments of things like invasive species introductions might focus on species composition and diversity indicators. Management and disturbance experiences can be done at broad temporal and spatial scales. For the terms of this project, I'm using a rather broad scale. The study area I'm looking at is in Lansingburgh, New York. Lansingburgh is a village in the north end of Troy, New York. It has its own schools and post office, but the police, fire, and public works are part of the city of Troy, New York. So any thoughts on an urban food project would have to be directed towards the city of Troy. So my proposed research actions include assessing indicators for the scope of the research proposal. In terms of this proposal, I'm looking at land use because of the variables of population densities and building intensities. They're a broad scale indicator of environmental quality, and residential and industrial land uses tend to have higher canopy cover and lower mortality rates. Parks, cemeteries, and other green spaces typically represent the most forested areas within cities. I'm also going to be looking at open green space, which involves the amount of open green space available for tree establishment and for future urban greening initiatives. The expected results of this research proposal include the understanding of the study area's ability to support a food forest initiative and to have something to go to local planning boards as a means of discussion with those planning boards about why implementing an urban food forest would be beneficial for the village of Lansingburgh. Thank you for watching my presentation.